What's up, Worldwide fam? It's your man, Omar S. for YouTube and for the West Coast Wave on Library. This is from Newsmax.com. I really don't get much news from this particular outlet, but this one, I think I found it scrolling on Minds.com from one of the people I follow on there, on Minds.com. And I thought it was interesting. I thought I'd read it to you. If you have not heard of Minds.com, definitely check them out. Minds, Minds, like Sam.com. Look me up. I'm under Omar underscore S. You will be on the blockchain when you post there, when you reply, whatever, and you will also get cryptocurrency. So check them out if you haven't. Vatican Archbishop to Trump, children of darkness oppose you. This was June 7th at 5:07 a.m. Today is June 10th, 5:43 p.m. West Coast. Influential Vatican Archbishop Carlo Maria Viganò, the former Papal Nuncio to Washington, D.C., has written to President Trump praising his leadership during a critical juncture in his presidency as he faces harsh criticism for his handling of the coronavirus and the George Floyd protests. In a June 7 letter addressed to President Trump and obtained by Newsmax, Viganò writes that the president's enemy is the children of darkness, whom we may easily identify with the deep state, which you wisely oppose and which is fiercely waging war against you in these days. The Archbishop indicated that the COVID emergency will likely be viewed in the future as a colossal operation of social engineering. We will also discover that the riots in these days were provoked by those who, seeing that the virus is inevitably fading and that the social alarm of the pandemic is waning, necessarily have had to provoke civil disturbances because they would be followed by repression, which, although legitimate, could be condemned as an unjustified aggression against the population, Viganò wrote. The Archbishop claimed that the same thing is also happening in Europe, in perfect synchrony. Viganò praised Trump as a president who courageously defends the right to life, who is not ashamed to denounce the persecution of Christians throughout the world, who speaks of Jesus Christ and the right of citizens to freedom of worship. Yeah, right. Tell that to the Syrian people and the Christians in Palestine. President Trump, sorry, dear reader, I digress. President Trump came under fierce criticism last Tuesday after visiting the Catholic National Shrine of St. Paul II in Washington. Washington Archbishop Wilton Gregory, a church liberal, publicly chastised the shrine for hosting the president. In a statement, Gregory stated, "I find it baffling and reprehensible that any Catholic facility would allow itself to be so egregiously misused and manipulated in a fashion that violates our religious principles, which call us to defend the rights of all people, even those with whom we might disagree." The president's visit to the shrine came shortly after he signed an executive order at the White House supporting religious freedom around the world. The day before, the president had visited St. John Church and held a Bible in front of a press gaggle. On Sunday night, protesters attempted to burn the historic church down. In his letter, Viganò told Trump that the attacks were part of the orchestrated media narrative which seeks to fight racism and bring social order, but to aggravate dispositions, not to bring justice, but to legitimize violence and crime, not to serve the truth, but to favor one political faction. Without referencing Gregory by name, Viganò implied he was aligned on the opposing side to the president. They are subservient to the deep state, to globalism, to aligned thought, to the New World Order, which they invoke ever more frequently in the name of a universal brotherhood which has nothing Christian about it, but which evokes the Masonic ideals of those who want to dominate the world by driving God out of the courts, out of the schools, out of families, and perhaps even out of churches, Viganò said. Viganò concluded his letter, "United against the invisible enemy of all humanity, I bless you and the First Lady, the beloved American nation, and all men and women of goodwill." There you have it, dear reader. Let me know what you think, what your take on this one is. I am not a big fan of the Vatican and all their cover ups of the pedophiles that they have in their ranks, but I do agree with the Archbishop when he says that this particular paragraph here, in quote, we will also discover that the riots in these days were provoked by those who, seeing that the virus is inevitably fading and that the social alarm of the pandemic is waning, necessarily have had to provoke civil disturbances because they would be followed by repression, which, although legitimate, would be condemned as an unjustified aggression against the population. I agree with that, and I agree with this other part where he said that this part right here, it's so like on point, like dude straight woke, that the people who are opposing the president are subservient to the deep state, to globalism, to aligned thought, to the New World Order, which they invoke ever more frequently in the name of universal brotherhood, which has nothing Christian about it, but which evokes the Masonic ideals of those who want to dominate the world by driving God out of the courts, out of the schools, out of the families, and perhaps even out of churches. Thank you again for tuning in. More on the way.